Hi, what's up? My name is Lee and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm a cruelty-free YouTuber and today I'm bringing you a 3-look plus review of the new Nikkie Tutorial X BeautyBay palette. As of right now, it's sold out, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be a restock. So if you're interested in the looks and my opinions and the review and everything I have to say about it, then just keep on watching. So I'm gonna start with the light, this part, the bright part of the palette, and I kind of want to do something very colorful, like involving all the colors basically. I did already swatch the 3 shimmer shades, and I think I'm gonna use at least 2 of them. Look at this bright one. This one is Pride. Oh my god, gorgeous. So I'm gonna start with the shade Vla, which is the neon yellow in this inner portion of my crease. And as I expected, it's more of a banana yellow. It's not really neon. Like, you need some sort of a white base for this to show up neon, but that's cool. Like, I just wanted a soft wash of yellow, and the shade is pretty powdery. On the same brush, which is just a small fluffy brush, I'm gonna take the shade Redemption, which is this bright orange, and put it in the middle of the crease. And still on the same brush, I'm gonna take the shade Blend and Snap, which is the best shade name in the whole world, and I'm gonna put it on the outer part of my crease. And these are blending really beautifully into each other. And I'm also gonna take it on the outer V, closer to my lash line, and a little bit lower in my lash line. And now I'm gonna go into the shade Sommer, which is really powdery, and I'm gonna put it on my lower lash line. I'm gonna take a new brush. I'm taking this pencil brush and I'm taking the shade Plot Twist, which is like a really light blue basically, and I'm just gonna wrap it around my inner corner. It's really light actually. I think it kind of pulls really light gray on me, but I'm not mad at it. Like, I can see this color blending with a bunch of different like colors in this palette. I would prefer a more prominent like pigment, you know, not so white based, but that's okay. And I'm also gonna take the shade Ivy, which is like a really bright white shimmer. I'm just gonna place it on top of that in the very inner corner. And it kind of feels like this shade is more of a cream to powder formula. It's kind of weird. It's kind of putty-like in the pan, which makes it a little bit hard to pick up. So now I'm gonna take this color and wrap it right around here to make sort of a, I don't know, a defined shape. It's kind of hard to blend actually. So I'm gonna take my previous brush and I'm gonna wipe it a little bit and take Vla, the neon yellow that I used initially, and try to blend it out a little bit. Yeah, that's fine. Now I'm taking a flat brush and I'm gonna take the shade Pride, and wow, it's picking up really chunky. So I'm gonna wet my brush. I put some of it back into the pan and I'm gonna use my ColourPop setting mist just to wet it a little bit so I won't get, you know, fallout, and I can build it up a little bit. And I'm just gonna put it all over my lid. Yeah, if this wasn't wet, I would have glitter all over my face by now. Chunks of it are kind of like migrating within the palette, so it's kind of a messier shade just because of how it's pressed, or the formula, or I don't know what. So I'm sort of cutting my crease with it, you can say, just because it is wet and it's very opaque. It's kind of chunky looking on the eye as well, but it looks so wet. I will put on some mascara and we'll be right back to show you look number 1. So this is the final look. I used the LA Girl Glide On gel liner in white in my waterline and just some Essence mascara, and I think it's really pretty. Like, I do like the shine of the shadow, I do like the blend of the crease. Like, I just think it's a really pretty look. Let's move on to look number 2. I swatched the shimmers on the other side, the dark side, and I'm kind of in love. I don't think the camera catches it because I don't think my hand can twist all the way. So I'm not sure what to do, but I will just start with the crease and we'll see where this thing gets us. So I love, like, I love so many of these colors. I'm gonna take a Juvia's Place blending brush and start building the crease with the shade Mila, which is just an orangey brown. To be honest, I'm not a fan of like these shades in palettes. Oh, pigment. Like, I have them in multiple palettes. I'm not a fan of browns, you know? Like, if you're gonna give me a colorful palette, then I don't want browns in it. So I just really want like a light wash of this, and I'm gonna take on the same brush again the shade Basic Trut, which is like Basic Bitch, I think, just to blend out the edges of this, because I just want a really light wash of, you know, definition in my crease, so that when I put the, you know, darker shades, that I have something to blend to. So now I'm gonna take the shade Slasher, which looks gorgeous. I haven't swatched any of these yet. I'm just like starting with them on my eyes because I don't want the swatches to sway my opinion of them or affect how I apply them. So I'm starting right in this outer corner, and it is pigmented. It's really hard formulating purples, so we will see how this one performs. And it does completely help that I already have a transition shade underneath, because if I didn't, it would have looked patchy. Like, that's just the nature of trying to blend a dark shade into a bare skin or like a primer or whatever. So it's sticking more to the initial place where I placed it, which happens with so many different eyeshadow formulas. So I don't mind that. I'm trying to be very slow and build it up like in very thin layers, just so that I have the blend that I'm looking for. So I'm first placing it with patting motions, and only then, when I have literally nothing on my brush, I start to swipe and blend very light-handed, and that's how I get like a nice blend. I'm gonna cheat and take a little bit of Zommer. Should I cheat? Yeah, why not? So I'll take a little bit of Zommer from the other side on the same brush and just blend it into the inner portion of my crease. Just because I don't like blending purples into like warm browns. I don't think that's a cute look. It will get muddy really easy. So now I'm coming back to Slasher and deepening the crease a little bit more, now that I have something that's more suited for this shade. I'm taking a clean fluffy brush and taking Basic Trut and just going over the edges a little bit, very lightly. And I'm deepening this part up just a tiny bit, and I'm putting it in the very outer corner where the top lash line and the bottom lash line meet, because I want to use the blue Amsterdam next. So I'm taking this like small smudge brush from BH Cosmetics, and I'm taking the shade Amsterdam on the very tip of it, just the tip, and I'm gonna start placing it on my bottom lash line. And on the very edge here, I'm gonna wing it out a little bit and smudge it a little bit on the top lash line in the outer corner, just to blend everything together. And now I'm gonna take the previous brush with nothing on it and just blend a little bit. Now I'm adding a little bit more of slasher and deepening the very, very, very outer corner, trying to get as deep as possible. So because I have a nice blend, I can just pat the pigment, and everything around it is already really nice and blended. So I don't have to work again to blend it out, because I already did that. I'm gonna use the same smudge brush and wipe it a little bit. And I'm gonna take the green shade, Ew, that's the name of it, not my opinion. And I'm gonna put it on the inner portion of my bottom lash line. I'm taking the fluffy brush with the shade Basic Trot on it. I'm not adding anything. And just blending it a little bit. I'm not like a huge fan of this, to be honest, but I just wanted to use the shade, and it's working. So you know what, I'm gonna do the same trick that I did on the other eye, and I'm gonna put it in my inner corner and cover it immediately with the shade Ivy. Yeah, it's really hard to pick up, and again, like the shade Pride, it's kind of picking up in chunks. Well, yeah, so a huge chunk just fell on me. It's mostly like pressed glitter, very, very, very fine pressed glitter. Not sure if it's glitter or mica, but it doesn't really have like a base to it. Yeah, so it's really easy to get like a chunk and then not be able to blend it. So that's something. I'll try to wet my brush. I'm gonna take Basic Trot again and try to tone down the mess, like just the edges. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna take the shade, I want both of them. I'm gonna take the shade All In, I think. Yeah, All In, because it kind of has like a green flip to it and kind of a purpley base. So I think it will go well with the green and the purple and everything, even though it's like a really more of a lime green and not really this like, I don't know how to call this, like Kelly green, I guess, this one. Anyway, I'm gonna take it first on my finger. Yeah, you can definitely see the green. The advantages of not having long nails, even though I miss them. I do. I'm gonna get a new set soon. Now I'm gonna take a little bit more of Slasher and just merge these two together. Again, I'm gonna take a flat brush and just pick up a little bit more of All In, which is again this really weird putty formula, which is kind of chunking up on me. So I'm not sure how I feel about the shimmer formula in this palette, but I just wet it a little bit more with the setting spray. And I just try to get a more opaque and more precise application now that I have the base that I put with my finger. Not sure how I feel about this look, but it's a look. So let me put on some mascara and a liner, and I will be right back. So I put some nude liner on my waterline, and this is Honeydew by Colourpop, and some Lash Princess mascara from Essence, and this is the second finished look. I do think that with the mascara and everything, it looks kind of nice. I'm not sure about the color combo that I chose, but I did just want to use, you know, as many colors as possible. I do think that this like purple shade is really nice, and also the shimmer goes really well with it because its base is kind of purplish. I hope the camera can catch it, but I'm not sure about everything else. So these are the first two looks. Which one do you like more? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. for my third look, I really fell in love with the shade Underground, and I kind of want to do a neutral look, I think. I'm gonna start with the shade Summer, which is quickly becoming like a really useful shade. Like it kind of helps merge everything together, like different shades in this palette. So I'm gonna just use it as a really light wash in my crease. And I'm also gonna take it on my lower lash line. And I'm winging it out pretty far. Now I'm gonna take a smaller brush and I'm gonna take the shade 5 AM, which is the brown. Shocking, I know, but I kind of want something pretty neutral. This is pigmented. I'm gonna use it for as long as it will let me blend, because I don't want this to be very brown. Like I want this to be kind of a sheer wash basically, but to deepen up my crease and mostly my outer V. Yeah, something like this. I am shimmery everywhere because of the previous looks. So now that I'm pretty happy with that, I'm gonna cut my crease. I'm gonna use this white concealer. This is the No Filter concealer from ColourPop in the white shade. And I'm just putting a little bit on the back of my hand. And I'm taking a flat brush. And when I'm doing this, I'm looking straight ahead. And I'm cutting it pretty close to the nose and also pretty far up. Sorry, I can't talk while I'm doing this. But I'm basically doing a half cut crease, so the inner part, the inner half is the most important to me. So I'm gonna kind of blend it out with my finger. Okay, and now before I do the other eye, I'm gonna take on the other side of this brush the shade Plot Twist, because I kind of want to see if I can build it up to make it like it is in the pan. Because when I used it for the first look, it was looking kind of white or gray. Kind of want it to be blue. That's why I also used a white base. Having some fallout because I am really building this color up. And then on the outer portion, I'm gonna use the shade Underground. First on my finger, and then we'll see if I will want to use a brush. And again, this is kind of a putty consistency in the pan. And I'm kind of placing it in a triangle. So like, not a triangle, but like a diagonal placement. This shade is gorgeous. Okay, I'm gonna catch this other eye up to speed and I'll be right back. So this is how we're looking. Now I'm gonna take on this like flat, I don't know, definer brush, I guess, from EcoTools, the shade Mr. Tutorials on the very edge, even though it's one of those putty shimmers, so I'm not sure how this is gonna work, but I'm gonna try to put it on my lower lash line. It's okay. This one is more of a like a subtle shimmer, kind of an olive antique gold sort of situation. My entire face is covered with glitter. So I'm gonna take the small fluffy brush and a tiny bit of 5 AM just to blend it out. Unfortunately, the only shade that works for the inner corner on my skin tone is Ivy, so that's the one I'm gonna use again. I'm gonna put it on my finger, and it's It's kind of disappointing that I don't have any more light shimmers. Like the duochromes could have been lighter, or some of them, I don't know. I don't care. Like, it's just a really stark silvery white chunky shade, which I'm not a huge fan of, but if I want to use this like only the palette, then I have to use it for my inner corners. The other ones are just gonna be too dark. So I guess it's kind of working right now. I'm gonna put on some mascara and finish up my face, and I will show you the finished look. So this is the finished look with flashes and everything. You know what, let me zoom you in. That was stupid. So this is the finished look with mascara and everything. I really like it, actually. I didn't think I would love a neutral look this much, but I do. I like the matte, like, inner part of the lid. I like all of it, basically. I like the blend and everything. So let's talk about this palette, shall we? Let's start with the elephant in the room. Is it cruelty-free? So I contacted BeautyBay and they gave me kind of a weird response. Basically, they claim to be cruelty-free, but they didn't have answers for some of my questions about ingredients, about third parties, about other companies that they are involved with. I don't know, for me it's kind of a weird one, but I did want to snag it before it was sold out, as it is right now, and to try it and test it as a consumer. I'm not saying go ahead, buy it, it's cruelty-free. It might not be. So if you're interested in it but are concerned with cruelty-free status, then I would contact them and ask them the questions that are most concerning you in regards to being cruelty-free. Let's have a conversation about it in the comments and let me know what you think about it and everything like that. So anyway, let's move on to the actual palette. So it looks like this. I'm sure you've already seen it. It has like this light side and then this dark side and then this middle row, which is neither here nor there apparently. But currently I've tested most of the shadows on my eyes. There are just a few that I haven't, and I'm feeling pretty confident about the review that I'm about to give. I haven't tested the longevity of it. This is the first time that I've used it. Like, I've just did the 2 looks on each eye and then this look, so 3 looks total, but I haven't tested the longevity of it. So I don't have information about that. So it's claiming to be like this light and dark. I personally don't see it. It's more of a neutral colorful combination in my opinion. The good thing about the color story is that for each deep matte shade, you have a lighter version or something that you can blend that shade out with. So for example, you have this deep purple that I've used in one of the looks, and I found that this shade Zomer is a really good one to blend it out with. You can also blend it out with the blend and snap, which will give you more of a pinky thing. So you can definitely use other shades to blend out the deeper shades, which is important in my opinion. However, where for me it falls flat is actually the shimmers, the selection of shimmers. I'm not talking about the formula yet. So these 2 shimmers are kind of similar. Also, these 2 are kind of similar. They translate a little bit differently on the eye, but not different enough. Like if some of them were lighter and could have been used as inner corner shades, that would have made all of the shimmers way more versatile. But the fact that they're all kind of the same tone, with the exception of the white one being very, very light and the olive one being kind of dark, they're all kind of the same tone. I don't see a reason to have this olivey kind of bronzy shade. I don't see it going with anything in a way that's better, than any of the other shades. So I kind of feel like it's a mishmash of like maybe Nikkie's favorite colors, but I don't find it to be the ultimate, color story. I don't find it to be very specific. I don't know how else to explain it. That's just my opinion. So for instance, the shade Ew, the green one, if she hates green, I don't get why she put it here, because it completely stands out. Like, it's different than anything else. And you can probably get like a really bright look with the yellow or whatever, but there aren't any other greens that you can match with that one. There is no green to deepen it up with. Like, it's just, it's just a standalone shade, you know what I mean? So I kind of feel like it could have been more cohesive with the color selection and also with the selection of the shimmers. So with the shimmers, the only shade that I personally, as a very fair-skinned woman, can use for the inner corner is the shade Ivy. That's the only one, and it's kind of a flaky, silvery, reflective shade, which I used in the inner corner for all of my looks, which is a shame because I don't always want like just a white inner corner, and also it's very flaky like the rest of them, but it doesn't really have a nice base to it. It's not like a white or champagne. It's a clear with just very, very fine shimmer running through it. I also tried putting it on top of another shade just to make it like a bright, light, shimmery version of itself, and that did not go very well. I tried it with the green shade and it was just kind of a mess. Yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of this shade to be as like the only inner corner highlight. And if there was just the one stark, you know, really bright inner corner highlight, I would have wanted a different one, not this one. I would have wanted something that's very smooth that I can maybe use on my brow bone. This is very chunky and very glittery, and it's not my favorite. I haven't used all of the colors, but I can tell you that this shade, Sommer, is kind of the star of the show for me because it goes well with a lot of different other mattes here. So for instance, like it's kind of a neutral, but it's not like brown. It's not like Mila. Mila doesn't blend well with Slasher. It doesn't blend well with Amsterdam. It doesn't blend well with You. Well, neither does Sommer, but what I'm getting at is that this is kind of a perfect transition shade for this specific eyeshadow palette, and I don't find the reason to have Mila in it as well, because the only other brown shade is this one, and they go together just as well as it goes together with Sommer, if that makes any sense. So Sommer is a really good transition shade for this palette, and it also is a nice, just a crease shade. You can build it up, you can make it very, very nice coral like wash of color in the crease or wherever you want it. So it's a nice shade as a standalone, but it's also very, very useful in this palette. I'm okay with having this like very, I don't know, meh shade in this palette. I use it just to blend out other shades and just to finesse the blending and everything like that. So I don't mind having it, but it's not a necessity in my opinion. I would have preferred like a black. To me, a black in a palette is more useful than this kind of shade, you know what I mean? And also this shade is not very inclusive to different skin tones. Obviously Nikkie did it to suit herself, like this is her perfect shade. Every shade here is her perfect whatever, which is great, but for me it's just not a necessity, and I would have liked to see something else, maybe like a really deep grungy olive green that would have gone better with You and with Mr. Tutorials, and like maybe just something else to tie everything together. Also, the deep shades are not very deep. that's something that I'm sure other reviewers will notice better than myself, because for me, I don't need the deepest of deepest shades because I'm very, very fair, but the shade Slasher and also the shade 5 AM. I have 5 AM on my outer corner in this specific look, and it's nice. It's really nice actually. It's nicer than it looks in the pan. In the pan it looks very warm chocolatey, which I don't really like these kind of browns, but it's actually really, really neutral, and it can lean cool tone if you put it next to other cool tone shades. So for me it looks really cool tone right now, which I prefer. So it's a nice one, but it's not very, it doesn't run very deep. Let me swatch the darkest shades for you. So, I mean, they are nice, but they're not as deep as they should be, or they're not deep enough to be the deepest colors of a palette nowadays, in my opinion. If you want to be inclusive, then you should have deeper shades, at least one, or a black. So if she had a black in this palette, I wouldn't have had to say anything about that. So that's just something that I noticed. For me, again, it's very, very usable. All the shades are very usable for my skin tone because it's basically the same as Nikkie's, but I am aware that it's not gonna work for every other skin tone, and that's something that people should keep in mind when they're, you know, buying color cosmetics. is it gonna work for them? So yeah, that's that. Also the shade Vla, the neon yellow one, it doesn't translate as neon, it translates as a pastel yellow, because the pigment isn't wow, it's not like in your face, it's just okay. Possibly if you use it on a white base it will work better, but yeah, it's just not punchy enough to bring that neon vibe that you see in the pan. And also Plot Twist. So Plot Twist is the one that I have in my inner part of the lid today, and I kind of feel like I built it up as much as possible to look like it does in the pan, but it is on a white base, and I did pack a ton of it to get it here, and I do like the way it looks. Like, it's pretty smooth, and it does lean quite, maybe a little bit more blue when it's like this, but it doesn't look as blue as it does in the pan. So that's kind of disappointing. I would have wanted it to be a little bit more blue, because when I use it without the white base, it just looks kind of gray white, like a really, really light gray, which sucks because it's a blue and I want it to be a blue. I haven't used the red. These two, Roxy Catan and Aura, and I haven't used Mama Tutorials. So those 4 are the only ones that I haven't used. But let's talk about the formula. So the mattes are pretty pigmented. You can build them up. They are not like Anastasia Beverly Hills pigmented that you just touch the brush, one tap, and then tap it on your eyes and it's like bam, pigment. But this makes this formula more beginner friendly, and also I don't mind building up color. I don't mind having the whole, you know, range between a light wash and a very pigmented version of that color, because you can build up the darkest shade to be as dark as they are in the pan. You can. So as long as that's not a problem, I don't mind the fact they're buildable. The mattes blend out really beautifully, actually, and effortlessly. That's a word, right? Effortlessly. As I said, I haven't used like the red one, but other than that, I've used all the other mattes, and the darker mattes work great, the lighter mattes work great. I found them really easy to blend with each other, as well as just as a wash of color. So I'm really looking forward to doing more looks with the mattes. The shimmers, however, I don't really love the formula. You can kind of see it's kind of putty. So where I place my finger, it's kind of, yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of this, just because when you try to pick it up with a brush, then you just pick up like a chunk or nothing at all, or just like a few specks of glitter, and they work best with fingers, with a finger application, but you don't always want that, you don't always enjoy that, and sometimes you can't actually do that if you have longer nails, if you have whatever your reasons are for not wanting to use your finger. So it's kind of disappointing that all of them are this putty formula, because there are some really, really great shimmer formulas that are dry but are pressed, and they aren't this like putty thing, and they're gorgeous, they're metallic, they're everything. So like, I don't think you have to go this route to get the outcome that she wanted. It needs more work than I want to give a shimmer shade. Yeah, so there are a lot of good things about this palette. I found it actually pretty surprising how big the pans are. So probably you could use some of them as like blushes. I don't think you can use the shimmers as highlights because they are very chunky, but you can probably use like this one as a blush, possibly these two. So that's cute. Maybe one of these will be a nice bronzer for you. I don't know, man. I don't usually use like eyeshadows for face shades, but you know, like, you can do whatever you want. The whole point is that the pans are pretty big, okay? And I do like the way the layout of the palette, like the way it flips to either side. So it makes this palette kind of, I don't know, it's unique, okay? The fact that it has this magnifying mirror is like the bane of my existence, because the one thing that I hate doing the most is looking at myself in a magnifying mirror. It's just, it's horrifying. I have no better way to say it, but if you have a use for a magnifying mirror, this is very innovative, I find. And the design on the, wow, I just poked myself in the eye. The design on the outside is gorgeous. On the back is like a dedication from Nikkie. It's super cute, and yeah, so it's a good palette. It has a good price. You can do a lot of different versatile looks with it. It's not as cohesive as I would have liked, and the shimmer formula is not my favorite. So would I recommend it? I think if the color story speaks to you, and if you're the kind of person that likes to pick up a palette and just go either very neutral or very colorful, or just blend the both of them, like if you like playing with color, then this can inspire you to do that. If you like using your hands to apply shimmers, this is also a very good palette to have because it's kind of a must in my opinion. Other than that, if you are the kind of person that cares about the products that you buy being completely 100% cruelty-free and not having even the slightest chance of animal testing in any place in the process, then I wouldn't buy this. And I'm kind of upset that I didn't get more answers from BeautyBay before posting this, but I just think that we're all consumers and we should use our money to support whatever we believe in. I believe in Nikkie tutorials, and I also believe in, I don't know, giving out information on the internet. So if my review helped someone decide not to buy it, then to me that's also a plus. But if my review helped someone decide to get it when it's restocked, then yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't mind, but this is again up to you, as everything else in life is up to you. So let me know in the comments which look was your favorite, and also if you're planning to purchase it or if you already have, and if maybe you got some inspiration from the looks that I created. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Anything helps. And don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.